right, Victorum Gaming fans and Hail Caesar fans, we're back. We're covering another faction today in our series where we're covering all the factions for the game. And next in line, again, we're going from sort of oldest to newest, sort of chronologically here, is Akkad and Sumer. So they're kind of just lumped together here. And that roughly covers 25th through the 20th centuries BC. So this is a fun list just because, again, it's still one of these early Bronze Age ones, but in contrast to what we saw with the old Middle Kingdom in Egypt and the Nubians, you do start to get a little bit more diversity with this list. So, excuse me, some of the searches that they kind of recommend you do here if you want some inspiration and background too. So you got Eannatum of Lagash, the Stele of the Vultures, Ur-Nammu, the Akkadian Empire, which would be really interesting to theme your list after, Sargon the Great, and there's so much more to find as well. So, and right off the bat here, we can see that the army composition is definitely a little bit different than what we've seen before in the other two armies that we've looked at. So here, chariots have to be, or can be up to 25% of the army. Infantry has to be at least 75%. So at least 3/4 of the units in the army must comprise infantry other than skirmishers. Key difference there. Then Sumerian or Akkadian spearmen or royal guard do have to make up at least 25% of the infantry. So yeah, at least 1/4 of the non-skirmisher infantry units must either be Sumerian, Akkadian, medium infantry with long spears, or royal guard, which we'll see in a second. Divisions, as we've seen so far, no deviations there. So basically at least 4 units in each division. And skirmishers per division, 50% of infantry is what that translates to here. Divisions may contain up to half as many skirmisher units as they contain non-skirmisher infantry. So, so you get a little bit of mobility in the form of sort of chariots or proto-chariots, which we'll see here when we flip the page. But basically your first real solid infantry army with some skirmisher support and stuff like that. And with the Royal Guard, you get a little bit of an elite melee infantry as well. So taking a look then at the list. So we got Akkad and Sumer troop values here. So we start off with Sumerian or Akkadian medium infantry with long spears. Pretty solid clash and sustained overall compared to some of the earlier things we looked at. A little bit of short range shooting there. Okay morale save, stamina as per normal there, and clocking in at 23 points a unit, so not bad. Royal Guard is where we see, again, a pretty solid bump here for only 2 more points per unit. So Royal Guard medium infantry with double-handed weapons and throw sticks, 1 unit maximum. So they have a clash of 7. Sustained just drops back down to a 6, a little bit of short range stuff, no long range, same morale save, but they do have tough fighters. So you get a little bump in that first turn and tough fighters for basically just the 2 more points per the unit there. Then we get into some of the other skirmishers and stuff here. So as we saw again from the restrictions, a lot of your army is going to be made up of those medium infantry with long spears. So, but good, solid troops there. So then Sumerian or Akkadian light infantry archers. So again, pretty weak in combat, but rock solid at range. Really good range stats. No morale saves, what to speak of though, and clocking at 20 points a unit. Then skirmishers with javelins fielded as small units specifically. So again, very weak on the close combat front there. A solid 2 for their short range attacks. And obviously consequently lower stamina value since it's a small unit, but only 11 points a unit. Alternately, then there's the sling option. Again, small unit as well, even weaker in combat on the first turn, but they do bring in that solid long range option there with a 2. Still no armor, drops down to 10 points a unit and is a levy, unfortunately. Then we have Amorite skirmishers with bows fielded as small units, up to 1 per Amorite warband. And again, pretty much the same as we just saw with the slingers, as far as stats are concerned, although they're not levies and they do cost 12 a unit. Then Amorite medium infantry. Tribal warband with spears, javelins, and bows. So you get a whole bunch here in one group. So you see, again, clash of 7, sustained 6. Interestingly, even though it says they're equipped with bows, they're just giving them a short range attack here. For ranged, they do actually have a bit of a morale save. It's not much. And the wild fighters rule, which is really cool, clocking in at 25 a unit. Then you have Gudians, Light infantry with double-handed weapons and throw sticks fielded as small units. These guys have the Marauder rule that drop down to 18 points. 5 and 4 on the close combat stats. Just a little bit of short-range shooting there with a 1. And again, a pretty flimsy morale save and not much stamina, but again, it's a small unit. But Marauders is pretty neat there. Again, we'll cover special rules when we cover that in a separate video, but really neat little option there. And double-handed weapons is still pretty cool. Then Elamite light infantry archers field as small units. So again, you have all these different options here for ranged to back up your infantry blocks, basically. Not much in the way of combat, of course, but it does give you another option for 2 at long range. Again, stamina of only 4 because it's a small unit, also a Marauder unit for 18 points. And then we finally get to your little bit of mobility in the army here, and that's onager-drawn light chariots with javelin armed crews, so pretty neat. So clash and sustained of 6, pretty hefty short range stat there of 3, nothing long range, again, just javelins. Best morale save in your whole army, 4+, stamina 6, and then some notes there that, again, on chariot use, basically. And also your most expensive unit there at 27 apiece. So basically giving you sort of mobile shooting platforms that can actually do pretty solid work in combat, too. So you only get a quarter or 25% of your army can be these guys, but would be worth investing in. Downside is just on the modeling front, these are all pretty much metal and I think fairly expensive too. So, and yeah, as far as Akkad and Sumer, I don't know anybody that makes plastics in this scale. So definitely going to be an all metal army, I think, and fairly expensive. But that being said, being able to theme it, whether it's Sumer, Akkads, Elamites, Amorites, etc., you got a wide range of hobby and paint options here. So really, you could do the army several times and just theme it after each of those city-states, basically, which would be really cool to see. And as we said, this does give you some solid infantry. Again, not I wouldn't put on par with like Roman legionaries or anything by any means, but solid infantry. The Royal Guard unit's pretty cool. Lots of different skirmishers and small units to harass people with, and solid ranged there. And then the fact that you can also bring in these onager chariots, basically like early chariots. They're not going to be super fast compared to, I think, the regular chariots that we see later on in history, and as far as the rules go. But basically, you get some mobile artillery, short-range artillery with them, and then, if need be, they can do some work in combat too. And then on the commander side, of course, they're free, 1 per division, and they're all basically cap out at leadership 8, which is basically like right in the middle. So not elite by any means, but not low, like 7 or worse or anything like that. So pretty decent all across the board. So a really neat list. Again, these are still these really early Bronze Age lists that we're looking at here. Interesting options for the modeler, the hobbyist. And gaming-wise, again, a fairly diverse enough group of units here to give you a little bit of infantry, a little bit of skirmishing and ranged, and a little bit on the mobility front with the chariots. No true cavalry units or anything yet. So that has been Akkad and Sumer. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you could, give us a like and a subscribe if you haven't already, and then stay tuned for more Hail Caesar content.